You are listening to the IFH Podcast Network. For more amazing filmmaking and screenwriting podcasts, just go to ifhpodcastnetwork.com.
This is a bit of a special one because the last month has been very interesting for me. A lot of you are friends with me on Facebook, so you saw the post that I have been diagnosed with ADHD, hence the title of this podcast episode. Otherwise, it really wouldn't make any sense. However, that's not all. Like one of those old commercials. That's not all. I get bipolar disorder, major depression, and unspecified anxiety for free. Absolutely free. I get all those. They might have something to do with the ADHD. They might not. The bipolar, it's the whole thing. It's been an insane month. Since the last time I recorded anything, I was talking about how depressed I was and everything, how rough everything had been. I had a panic attack, and it all really came to a head after the panic attack. And I came on here and talked a little bit about it, and I started finding some treatments and seeing some psychiatrists. So I knew I had something was going on. I guess I just wanted to cover this a little bit. Maybe this isn't interesting to you. If you think you have some sort of mental illness, like I have, mental disorder, whatever they call it. Neurodiversity, I guess, is now the term. Me personally, I feel like I just have soup for brains because I have absolutely no idea how I got this far. But that's just me. So, whatever. This is all very new to me, this diagnosis, because I thought my brain, the way it works, is the way it works for everyone, and that is not true. And I'm going to go over a lot of this because I've actually had some people reach out and say, hey, you've inspired me to kind of check this out because I kind of identify with some of it. And so I'll start there because this is where technically I started with this whole journey, even though I've had all these symptoms or whatever, these things going on inside of my head since I was a kid. I did not know, again, that was abnormal in any way. I had no idea how, how would I, right? So anyway, I'll start where I went into a psychiatrist. There's some good people in here, and there's a few people who were, not so helpful, like the sleep doctor. I think I mentioned. Now I understand, more. Just, she told me to go get into sunlight, but that, that's not her specialty. Like, she didn't know that I was. Why would she know that I was having some sort of mental breakdown about the 400 things going on in my brain? That all apparently came to a head at the same time. But if I'm thinking back correctly, I think she was actually the first one who said, maybe you should check out psychiatry, because I can't help you as a sleep study, because I can't do a sleep study because you're not waking up during the night. You can't go to sleep. And I said, yes, that's right. She said, maybe you should check out psychiatry. There's something there. And at the time I was like, whatever. Why would that help me sleep? That doesn't make any sense. But eventually I did. After the breakdown, I was like, it was her and a number of other things that I had just noticed. People post, and there's a lot of ADHD people or people who have either symptoms of it and don't have it full blown. And I'm still figuring out what that means for me. I'm not saying I have it full. I don't know yet. Like, I'm not saying anything yet. This is a very long treatment process for me, especially. And I'll tell you why in a minute. But see, okay, all right, here's the symptom. That side note that I just did, completely derailed me. And I would normally cut this out, but I'm not going to do that. The side note that I just said, which I've already forgotten, by the way, it's completely derailed me. It's talking about the sleep doctor. So this is my thought process. I'm not going to cut this out. This is my thought process. Talking about sleep doctor, psychiatry. Okay, I'm back. I had looked and saw things online over time. I'm on Reddit a lot. I'm kind of addicted to Reddit, and that's the way I just kind of disassociate for a while. And unfortunately, they got really bad. But again, I'm going to talk about that in a minute. But I would just see posts like someone say, "Oh, this I identify with this," and it's like my ADHD brain tells me to do X, Y, Z. And I'm like, haha, I laugh it off like, oh, I do that, but that's really funny. But, everybody does that, right? Like, that's an everyday thing, which is true. A lot of people do a lot of the things ADHD does to add up to an actual ADHD diagnosis. A lot of people have memory issues. A lot of people are just kind of space cadets for other reasons, whatever. Like people call me sometimes space cadet. You're lost in your thoughts. Some people it's not necessarily ADHD. There's a lot going on. They can get you locked in your head and overthinking things or whatever it is, right? So that's why it's a long process. Again, I'm going to go more into this, but I'm getting sidetracked again because of ADHD, goddammit. So anyway, I go to my psychiatrist for the first time. She's very nice. I haven't said anything about ADHD yet because I wasn't completely sure. Like I had my thoughts and I went into it, but I said, I'm not going to mention it yet. I'm just going to tell her exactly what's going on in my current life, which is I cannot sleep. I cannot fall asleep. As soon as I lay down, my brain turns on. It does not turn off. My thoughts race. I hear at least one song, maybe two at all times. Okay. I'm thinking about conversations I'm going to have the next day or a week from now. If it's something extra stressful, like a film pitch or something, like that's just what goes in my head. And it's especially bad at night because I'm laying there trying to sleep. When I have TV, when I have music, when I have whatever, podcasts, whatever it is, a book that's really good that I really like, because that's actually part of the ADHD is not paying attention to stuff that maybe your brain's like, I don't want to pay attention to this, and you have to force yourself. It's a whole litany of things, and that's what happens in my head every single time I was laying down to go to sleep. How are you supposed to sleep with that? On top of the fact I was getting itchy, my whole body was itchy. I was like, I have to go. I'm going crazy. I have to go inside and talk to somebody. So I tell her all this, and she says, okay, we're gonna try a few things, some just base like anxiety medicine, and get some of that going. Let's see what works. Some mild sedative stuff. It's not super strong, but it's supposed to just help me relax, and hopefully it was supposed to turn my brain off and put me to sleep. I don't remember the name of it, but it kind of worked. But one of the weird side effects I usually get is extreme hunger, like Ambien. I was taking Ambien. I think I talked about this. I was taking Ambien, and the third day, literally all I can think about was food. My stomach felt like had never had food in it, and I felt like that all the time. It didn't matter how much I ate. It didn't matter how much I didn't eat. My body was like, we're dying right now. Why are you not eating? And I'm pretty sure it happened with this other one too. I think that's why I stopped. I was like, whoa, I know what that feels like. Nope, not doing that one. No, thank you. I'm going to weigh 8,000 pounds, boy, because, man, it was so bad. Anyway, it was crazy. Like, I've never had that hunger before. Anyway, God, I got sidetracked again. See? ADHD, there it goes. What was I talking about? Okay. So the second appointment, there was a follow-up, and she said, all right, so that didn't work. We need to try something more extreme. So Prozac, she thinks, is going to help me. It was Prozac and something else. I can't remember. But anyway, I chose Prozac. I was like, she was like, choose one. I was like, I don't know what they are. Just choose one for me. I don't know what any of this means. I'll just try one and see what happens. Well, that was a bad idea. It turns out that was a terrible idea. During the appointment, the follow-up appointment, I did bring up the fact. I was like, look, I think I have ADHD, and I think I've always had it. And what she did, instead of saying, oh, that's interesting, why do you think that? Or like, what are the symptoms you think are that? She laughed and said, you're 45. So one of the things I have on top of everything else is something called ODD. It's oppositional, oppositional defiant disorder. There we go, ODD. So you've heard me talk about how I've had problems with notes over the years. I've told the story about how Molly Coffey and I had a huge blowout when the first thing we were working on, my script consumed. We were getting notes on it, and I was pushing back like crazy and being a huge asshole about it. The reason is I have something called ODD. It makes me push back against every authority figure that everybody. I've learned over the years to recognize when that's happening, and saying this person's trying to help. I've talked about how I pushed that old Chuck down, and that's what it is. I'm pushing that ODD person who feels like they're right about everything and hates authority, which I'm not sure that's ever going to go away. I don't think there's medicine for that, but I've learned to cope with this. And I actually think it's benefited me in different ways. It's definitely hurt me in ways, aka jobs. That does not help. But I think it's absolutely helped me in not getting screwed over in some certain deals for both Hootie and my screenwriting stuff. So that's the whole thing. It's like give and take. Like some of it's good, some of it's bad. And also the fact that I have this ODD thing, I thought that was a personality trait that I'm fuck authority, whatever. So some people listen to the McChucks and they don't like cussing, whatever, but I can't, like, this is a lot. Like, I can't not cuss on this one. I'll put a warning on the thing. Like, well, these aren't usually filled with cussing, but I can't help it. Like, this is too much. Which is a thing I was saying over and over in my mental breakdown was, it's too much. And I didn't know what that meant. And Maggie didn't. My wife, she didn't know what it meant. She was like, what do you mean? I was like, I don't know. It's just too much. It was literally just too much information. But yeah, that ODD kicked in when she said that. And I said, okay, all right, you're going to laugh. Okay. A lot of people, unfortunately, this happens to a lot of people, I think, and they just accept it. And my ODD kicked in, and I said, oh, okay, we're going to laugh at this? All right, I'm going to take this 100 times more seriously. So I messaged a friend who works in the medical field. She said, take this test. This is what I took. It's a licensed doctor will give you a diagnosis. It's ADHDonline.com. She said, take this. It's a huge questionnaire, and boy, did I have to get personal. And I told that doctor all the stuff that I don't think anybody else on earth knows about except for the fiance that I had all the trouble with, and abused me. I had to tell all that stuff. I mean, real man, yeah. But it was for a reason, and I got it back, and the doctor was like, boy, oh boy, do you have ADHD? And all this other stuff. And he actually said that I should also get tested for autism. But I can see why he said that. Some of the traits of like social interactions, like I'm bad. I've talked about how I'm really bad. The reason I started this podcast, I'm bad at parties. I'm bad at gatherings. I don't talk to people, but I can do that in a podcast setting because I'm working towards something, and it triggers my happy juices in my brain for the ADHD. However, what you don't know, and especially if you've been a guest on the show, every episode I've done has just been almost just terrifying, especially after like a long break and I haven't done it in a while. I literally don't think in my head, I'm like, I don't know. I don't remember how I did this. And then when I sit down and start talking, it just works. I get what you tell me. You listen to the podcast, you're like, hey, it's not working. Tell me, I did it again. I fucking sidetracked myself. See? I'm saying, man, this is what it is. This is what it is. I literally sidetracked myself. I don't remember what I was talking about. And normally I would cut this out, but I'm leaving it in. Okay, yeah, so I was talking about ADHD online. And then she said, go to LifeStance. Now that you got this diagnosis, fire your other doctor, which I just did. I wanted to make sure that I could get in with this other doctor. I didn't want to just cut off my old one. I could deal with her being rude or whatever, just so long as I get my medicine. I can deal with that. Sidetrack, see? There it goes again. Anyway, LifeStance. LifeStance is the website that's got a list of qualified psychiatrists, and I found one that just happened to be, I literally just chose one at random, and she is almost exactly like my primary doctor, who I really like because she's very thorough and very scientific, right? So Dr. Eda Bagante is my. If you need a doctor, please go to her. She's amazing. I'm serious. If you're in her network or whatever, she's the best. But she takes everything very she just explains things in a way that I can identify with. Like she's like, I'm going to try this medicine because I see these symptoms. This XYZ might happen, which means we're going to, here's the 2 paths we do after that. These 2 paths are blah, 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 and like everything she says, I'm like, oh my God, this is perfect. This is exactly how my brain works. And my psychiatrist, Dr. Lee, is the same way. She did not like the online test. She said, I prefer, and I get it, she prefers them in person so they can measure brain waves and look at my eyes or whatever they do. And I said, I will literally do any testing. This is not a self-diagnosis at all. I am interested in whatever is going on in my head to stop. So if that involves you literally guinea pigging me through a litany of stuff to figure out what works, I'm fine with that. The other reason I went with Dr. Lee is the medicine that my first doctor gave me set me in a insane manic phase. The Prozac did the opposite of what it's supposed to do. Prozac is supposed to calm you down, make you nice and even. It did the opposite because I had bipolar. And that other doctor really should have said, hey, by the way, if you go crazy, which you might, here's why. Because you have this thing going on, and we can address that. She did not say any of that. She just said, let's try Prozac and see what happens. If I hadn't, I knew what a manic phase was. After like day 3, actually, after like day 3 of me being just like literally on fire, and my skin actually started to itch, and I was like, oh my God, I'm in a manic state. I've done this before. I know what this is. So I stopped. I immediately stopped. I knew this, I was like, I got it. This is not, there's no way. So then I found the other psychiatrist, and I actually asked her, would this have ever stopped, or should I have pushed through? She said, no, you would have been in a mental hospital probably. I said, oh, cool. Okay. I'm glad that other doctor told me that. If I had not known what a manic state was, that could have been really, really bad. So I'm very glad I switched. Again, the ODD helped me say, this isn't right. That lady does not know what she's talking about. Something's wrong. Right? You know yourself, especially I'm in my 40s. There's not a lot of secrets left, I thought, but here we are. So anyway, the doctor has me on something called mood stabilizers that, if you think of like a sound wave going up and down, I'm doing my hand like that, but you know what I mean? Like you put your hand out the car and it goes up and down. Instead of going way up and way down, I just do it a little bit. I've felt really good. I'm not perfect. Sleep is getting better. I think also partly because of anxiety medicine I've been taking. Although the one that Dr. Lee gave me recently does not work, but she gave me some other stuff to try. So whatever, like it's getting better. I know the world's quite literally on fire right now, and as I speak, we're about to freeze here in Atlanta. The next day. I'm recording this on Thursday, and we'll see what happens. The world's on fire, but momentarily, I am at least in a sort of stable place. So the reason we're doing the mood stabilizers right now, my ADHD the medicine could potentially sit me in another manic state, and she said it actually can induce psychosis. So she's being very cautious with the medicine. She's not 100% sure it actually is ADHD yet, but I've started taking a dose that's supposed to get rid of those symptoms, and they have not gone away. I have actually got a lot of memory problems recently. I blacked out in the middle of the store, I guess, because I had a USB drive. I was getting some stuff printed and signed notary at the like a UPS or whatever, and I got back in my car, and the drive was gone. I mean, I went back into the store and I said, hey, did I drop my drive, my flash drive? And they're like, we have no idea what you're talking about. It was literally gone. I looked all over the parking lot, in my car, all my pockets. It vanished off the face of the earth. That was very worrying. There was another one where I blacked out, I guess, we had a bunch of recycling stuff in the back of my car. One day, I took it all out and put it in the bin. The next day, I went to put the bin by the road, and I asked Maggie, hey, when did you put the stuff from the car in the bin? And she gave me a look, and I was like, oh, I did that, didn't I? Great. Don't remember that one. It's like she was like, I watched you do it. I was like, okay, great. Terrific. All right. So that sucks, but I'm writing all this down because obviously I can't remember it. But I have an app, just Notepad, in my phone. I'm just marking everything down, like, okay, this is weird. I'm getting a lot of memories from my childhood, like smells, which is really weird. I was walking our dog around the neighborhood one day, and I got this random smell that was my grandfather's bedroom when I used to play Nintendo in like late 1980s. For a split second, it smelled 100% like his room, and then it was gone. So it's been very strange. But mostly it has been very positive. Just getting the diagnosis. When Dr. Lee said she didn't like the online test, she didn't trust it. She said, I'm sorry you wasted your money. I said, no. The insurance might cover it, which is nice. But even if it doesn't, B, I would not be here talking to you if I did not have this diagnosis. Because as soon as I got the diagnosis, my entire life came into focus. It's just been crazy. Like my entire life. I thought I had personality traits, and most of my personality traits I share with every other ADHD person, but not all of them. At first, I was like, I have no personality. It's just a mental illness. That's not true. Apparently, one thing that ADHD and autism, people with autism, which I might be both, by the way. I mentioned that. I don't know yet. But we're supposed to be very sensitive to cold. exterior weather stuff. Both ADHD and autism, I think. And I actually am the opposite. At least with the cold, I always assumed it was from my mom's Michigan bloodline or something, like German bloodline. I don't know, but I have multiple friends who make fun of me for going out in the weather and in like freezing cold weather, almost like 40s and stuff. I'm like, it's so hot, and I take my jacket off. Are you? Come on, man, are you kidding me? And I do it all the time because I'm legitimately hot. And also, I go hiking with some friends, and they have repeatedly made fun of me for never sweating. And like we go in like July and August, and I'm like, Chuck, can you please start sweating? So I somehow got the opposite of that. I don't know what that means. But every social situation I've ever been in has been a nightmare, and I've never told anybody. I mean, I've talked on here like I don't like parties. I don't think people understand how much of a struggle it is to go to something like this for someone like me who is in their head 24/7. A lot of people don't understand that. My brain is turned on 24/7 when I sleep, when I wake up, as I'm going to sleep, during the day. Music, conversation. If you don't have that, consider yourself lucky. They say this crap is a superpower. It's not. If I could weaponize it, which I feel like I've done a lot, it'll be better. But it's just 24/7. So when you're in your head like that all the time, every conversation is rough, especially because people with ADHD, the way it works is so crazy. Okay, real quick. So what it is, as far as I understand, I'm a little dumb. And I'm not just saying that because I have a mental illness. When it comes to science stuff, I tried to be a paleontologist. I'm just a little too dumb. That's fine. I got to go on a dinosaur dig. I'm not complaining. I know where I am. I know how I live. But the pleasure center in my brain, is it fully formed, or it's not fully developed, or something happened with it, it's shriveled or whatever. So every single task I do, I get nothing from it. When most people, neurotypical, whatever they're called, normies, muggles, again, what the hell was I talking about? Oh, pleasure center in my brain is underdeveloped. So the way it manifests is that my brain is trying to look for anything that has happy juice, right? So luckily, and I'm counting my lucky stars on this, I fell into love with movies, and that is my dad's legacy of saving my life. Probably, I'm not joking. Was he probably had some also, and he had tons of mental issues too. I mean, we all do, right? But I think specifically his love of movies was him. Like, okay, when I'm watching a movie, I don't have to think about. Especially with him, with his PTSD from the Vietnam War, it's like, okay, when I'm watching a movie, it all just is so quiet. And man, I get that. And he gave that to me. He gave that to me. It's, occasionally if a movie sucks, really, it's got to really truly suck for me to be taken out of a movie, especially at the theater, because I went to the theater. My dad took me to the theater. We always saw movies in the theater as much as possible. He loves theater, going to the theater, in the movie theater with a huge bucket of popcorn. So he gave that love to me, that I can just focus on that thing and just like be transfixed by Star Wars. Like whenever a new Star Wars comes out, it's time to go, because that's what I watched during my childhood. But I especially get that when I'm writing, and I'm super lucky about that. I have the ability to sit down, and I've said this on McChuck's before about like just sit down, and tune in. I can't really give that advice anymore. That's how I work. That's how my brain works. Literally, as soon as I say it's writing time, my brain it's ready to go. Most of the time, not all the time. I'm not going to say it's every time, but most of the time, no matter where I am, if I was in the car, maybe I could probably try and do it and like focus enough to write something. I'm not going to do that, especially if I'm driving, because I like to be in a nice calm space to really get stuff out. But yeah, for the most part, I can lock in, as the kids say, to a script, to writing a script or whatever I'm writing. I'm writing a novel right now, my follow-up novel to Brian and the Disappearing. But I'm able to just sit down and start going. And most people don't have that. The reason I'm pretty good at coming up with outlines and like major story things is my brain is 100% going crazy, especially as soon as I think of a really good story idea or someone tells me something. I'm like, oh yeah, blah, 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 blah. I'm just off the races. Like every sentence in every script, I think, has been, I've thought about it like for just at least a couple days. Like so much of it just comes pouring out when I'm writing, but I've thought about it so much that it's almost like I'm transcribing what I've already thought of. But then I go back and I read scripts after a couple of weeks, and I have the ability to just literally forget. I don't remember writing parts of the script. I mean, legitimately, I don't remember parts of scripts that I've gone back and read and be like, I don't remember writing this. This is really good. Am I sure I wrote this? Where did this good part come from? Yeah, I do that all the time. I think I forgot to finish the thought about the sentences. So when people talk to me in social situations, one thing I do is ADHD people do is like when we know what the ending of a thing is, it's kind of painful, right? So if someone's like, I went to the beach, and you say, oh, I don't know, what'd you do? And then as soon as you say that, I'm like, oh, well, they swam in the ocean and picked up seashells, like the usual beach stuff. And so when they say all that stuff, you're like, yeah, why did I ask that? I already knew that's what they did. That's what the beach is for. But most people, that's just polite conversation. Oh, how was the beach? Oh, it was nice. There was sand and I threw a ball. I saw water. I waved at a penguin. Penguin? I guess they're in Antarctica. Anyway, it's about to be a beach. I mean, climate change. There it goes again. But every sentence is kind of painful to listen to if you know where it's going, which is also why it's painful sometimes to watch shows and TV shows and movies that are very like. I think the reason I don't like rom-coms and like holiday movies, most of the ones that come out, like the Hallmark stuff, they are identical. But most people like that. Most people want the familiarity. Like, I'm gonna sit down, I know what's gonna happen. I can tune it out and just kind of enjoy it. It's here, it's fine, and they have a great time at doing that. If I do that, I know what all the beats are, and I'm hovering my finger over the fast forward button, like, oh my God, can you please go? Why is this taking so long? I know what, and like my wife makes fun of me for knowing every movie, which isn't really true. But if I really tried, actually, if I wasn't able to tune out all that stuff and just watch a movie, I probably could just call all the shots for most movies. If I just sat there and thought about it and like, what would I do? But the main problem here is all this stuff sounds good except for the racing thoughts and whatever. But the main problem is executive function, it's called. So I'm very video gamey. So I saw someone describe this as like what if you had 3 points per day to do activities? Like you have 3 action points, right? It's a very video game thing. If you can do those 3 things, like very focused 3 things, boom, 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 right? So it's like a plan. However, if I don't have a plan for the next day, before I got this diagnosis especially, I would just sit there and think, all right, so I need to do A, B, C, D. Now it's also E, F, G, H, I, J. Well, K is a couple weeks from now, but I should probably start on that. So this is interesting. Just break this up real quick. I had to stop because there was a phone call from my neurology appointment, and I just confirm it or whatever for next week. So I had to stop the podcast. I went to go back to recording the podcast. Absolutely had no idea where I was. So, of course, I just listened to the audio, which is nice. But yeah, that was the thing right in the middle of it. So that was interesting. Could not remember what I was doing, but whatever. That's what the neurology appointment's going to be, and the rest of this treatment is. But anyway, I was talking about, you get the idea. You got all these thoughts in your head about like just all the stuff you have to do all the time. And that's just, it stops you from doing anything, which is what that whole executive function thing is. Like, well, we only have so much energy per day, right? You have to divvy up. And you want to do all these things, but your brain just won't let you do anything. Because you're not getting any reward for it. And that includes dishes, and that includes folding laundry, but it also includes things you want to do. Like as a writer, I have to fight those executive function things to sit down. And as soon as I start writing, I'm like, whee, it's like a roller coaster. I'm off the races. But sitting down and doing it, you get in your head like, well, everything I write sucks, or I don't really have this idea figured out, or it's just too early in the morning, or it's too late at night. I'm feeling, I'm kind of sick or whatever. Like, the whole joke is like, well, tell a writer to go write so they can clean their house. And that's a lot of the times it's very true. It's just like anything but writing right now, because you're in your head about it. But if you go clean your room or whatever, like, oh, like I accomplished something. Haha, I cleaned my room. Did you accomplish the thing you wanted to accomplish? No, but I cleaned my room. Shut up. And again, I thought this was just a personality trait of just like, I'm kind of lazy. And I've talked about it on the show. Like I'm kind of lazy. The reason I'm lazy is because my brain won't let me do stuff, but the stuff that I want to do, like write, I've weaponized it enough that I can force myself to do it. I weaponized the podcast, like being able to be slightly charming in person because I don't have much of a, and my personality is all in my head. I don't outwardly exude personality a lot. I've adapted to that. To do that, like the way I move around when I talk is because I'm distracting myself to speak because I'm talking, and it's my brain's jumping around. So like my brother-in-law calls me a Muppet sometimes because I can't tell a story without jumping around or like I'm like making puppet hands or something. People at the podcast have noticed like I twitch a lot. Like especially if I'm looking you in the eye, like that's really hard for me. Which actually might be the autism if I do have that. We're not sure yet. Again, not self-diagnosing. I'm just saying what the report said. But looking in the eye is really difficult, and I pull my shirt. You probably have noticed this if people who've met me in person. I twitch my head around. I pull my shirt. Those are tics. I mean, those are tics. That's what they are. They're nervous tics that I do because it's very hard to be around people most of the time. I like being around people. I want to be around my friends, but my brain's like, we don't want to do this. What are you doing? I have to literally tell them, my brain, to shut up, to have a normal social function. And this has nothing to do with anybody else. These are people I want to talk to. These are the people I should go to gatherings and connect with because I can be slightly charming when I want to. But my brain's like, that's not going to go well. There's not going to be anybody there. Nobody likes you anyway, which which is fine. That plays into the ODD where I'm like, oh, they don't like me? Well, of course I want to be there. But what happens when I do go to places and I'm like, all right, I'm in. We're going to a place. I'm in the car. Oh my God, we're driving there. Oh, it's getting closer. And I get there and it's for a thing I'm excited about. Let's say a concert. I don't even have to talk to anybody. It's literally me going to a concert by myself. A band I want to see. I want to see them play music and I enjoy it and go, this is fun. I'm enjoying music live. But as soon as I get there, my brain's like, well, we did it. Let's go home. I mean, as soon as especially if it's something spontaneous, I think it's opposite, actually. I think if it's something spontaneous, if like, oh, my favorite band's in town right now, I'm going to go. I could probably get that ADHD like juice jump, I guess to call it. Long enough for the concert. But if it's something that I've planned ahead, actually weeks in advance, I think it's actually worse then because I have time to be like, oh, well, I bought those tickets. And then it's like, oh, I bought those tickets. I have to go. I have to go see this band that I love and I want to see. Why is this so difficult? And then I get there and my brain's like, okay, we did it. We came to a thing, right? We can go home. And I say, no, brain, the band we wanted to see isn't out yet. This is just the opener. And my brain's like, well, it's close enough. Like, who cares? The band's going to come out and suck anyway. Like, it's going to disappoint you. I'm like, brain, will you please shut up? And then the band comes out and I enjoy myself. My friends make fun of me because I don't move around too much. But I am having a lot of fun. It's just not outwardly showing it. But, whatever. There's that whole meme of the guy is like old metalhead and his favorite band of all time, just having a blast, and it's him with a beer standing there with his hand in his pocket, just smiling. That's me. Except I usually don't have a beer. But yeah, it's this huge push and pull with me, which I think is the ADHD and maybe the autism pulling me back a little bit. There's also the bipolar issue. Again, this is why I say I have super brains. I'm literally just figuring this out. The reason I'm saying all this is because neurodiverse people, I guess as we're called, tend to flock together. And I am seeing it and the person who referred me to this place is a really close friend of mine's wife. And I mean, I'm close with her too, but like he's one of my best friends. And she gave me all this stuff, and now my eyes are awake. And I'm seeing, it's like the Matrix. I'm not seeing people with ADHD everywhere, but I'm seeing a lot of the traits that I know now are ADHD symptoms and maybe bipolar, etc. I see them in everybody that I know, and a lot of people I'm related to, and I'm seeing where it came from. Like my mom did laundry every day. Nobody likes doing that every day. They do that because it's the one thing they can control in their life, and it makes them feel clean and accomplished. So they do that every single day, and it becomes their personality. And that was what happened to my mom, I'm pretty sure. Again, I'm not actually diagnosing her, but I can see it. My grandfather loved trains and had a model train set, and boy, is that not a stereotype of autism. So I can see it back there. My dad's side, too. My dad had a litany of things going on, and I think he gave most of them to me, which is great. But he also gave me movies, what a trade. I don't know. But yeah, the reason I'm saying all this and the thing I'm about to do now and let you listen to is because I think, I'm not saying you get diagnosed. I'm not saying you have to take this expensive test. It was $159 online. I say that's not a lot, but for a lot of people, that's a ton of money. I don't know if it's covering my insurance yet. I can actually let you know if I get that check. However, for peace of mind, I would highly suggest that you just look into some of the symptoms. Do not self-diagnose. Do not self-diagnose. You have to go to a person officially. However, look up some stuff and listen to this thing that is my brain simulator. I've seen some of these online, so I'm going to do one of my own. This is what my brain sounds like, okay? The only difference is the music that you're going to hear is just me doing it. Like, I'm not going to actually sing, but because I can't really sing. I used to be in a metal band, but I could just kind of half sing. Whatever. Anyway, sidetrack. God damn it. It was called Name of 5-5. There you go. And finish that thought. Anyway, back in the late 90s. Anyway, if you hear this and you're like, oh, yeah, it's just me doing the songs. I would do I would actually do the actual songs, but I don't want to risk the whole license thing, and it's kind of pointless. Just know that I'm hearing the actual songs I hear. Like, if I hear a song on the radio, when it gets stuck in my head, it's literally the same thing as the radio. I don't hear it outside of my head. It's in my head, but inside my skull, it sounds like the song. Like, exactly, right? Sometimes there's one, sometimes there's two, and sometimes they mix, which is weird. But it's legitimately 24/7. I'm not joking. I literally have music in my head 24 hours a day. It affects my mood. If I hear a sad song and I'm having an okay day, it can bring me down if it gets stuck in my head. And I feel somber just looking at everything, and I see a sunset or something. It's supposed to be beautiful. If I have a somber song stuck in my head, I will be somber about it. It will be a somber moment instead of a beautiful moment. Vice versa. If I'm sad and I want to brute force happiness, which I've done, just stick on something like Andrew WK or something that's really, really goofy, fun, dumb music, loud, and get party hard stuck in my head, and that can lift my mood because it's stuck in my head. But then imagine both those songs stuck together, right? You have a sad song, and then you have happy song, Andrew WK versus Portishead, maybe. You mix them together, what do you get? My crazy brain. And that is why I am a space cadet in social situations. And if I've drifted off in the middle of a conversation with you and I don't remember it, I'm very sorry. I'm very definitely noticing it now that I do with my wife and everything. I can feel my brain just going off in outer space. And she's now that we know what it is, she just laughs at me, which is fine. I'm laughing at myself, so it's totally fine. It is ridiculous. It's so stupid. Like I was fixing something. I had a screwdriver in my hand, and I was fixing something, and then the screwdriver disappeared. And I looked in there was a drawer that was just where I was doing it. It wasn't the tool drawer. I just put it in like a food drawer. And I was like, why in the hell is this in here? I was like, God, well, what am I doing, dude? It's just stuff like that. And I told her, and she's like, yeah, that sounds like you. But yeah, this is going to be an interesting journey. I'll probably talk about this more. I'm actually even thinking about some other stuff I don't know, maybe some other material to go along with this, maybe a different channel. I don't know. Because this is kind of throwing me for a loop. Like all my writing, the way I approach everything is because of this ADHD stuff. The way I've had to adapt my brain. The reason I'm not saying I'm an expert at dialogue. I know I boast a lot. My ego is pretty in check. I can talk myself up pretty good, but I know where I am. Like I'm pretty good at dialogue, especially reading other people's scripts and stuff. I know dialogue. I know how people talk, and the reason I know that is because I listen instead of talking. And the reason I listen instead of talking is because talking is painful, and I'd rather just listen to people talk, and then I make mental notes of their speech, their whatever dialect they have, their weird inflections they might have. One of our neighbors, I got stuck on him. He came over. He's elderly. He's like 80, 90 something, and he came over talking to me because I was grilling some meat. Yeah, it's a weird scene, but it was nice. Whatever. He's very old. He doesn't remember anything. He didn't remember meeting me, but he says, hey, and he says, and hey, son of a gun, like over and over. Like it's almost like his tick. And he would just be like, the other day I went to the store and hey, son of a gun, something, whatever, got the tortellini or whatever his story is. It's son of a gun. Like, and I just, I picked up on that, and I was like, well, he's a character. At some point, he's going to be a character somewhere. I do that legitimately all the time. If I've met you in person, you're in my head, the way you talk and stuff, I could probably write your dialogue, or maybe at least close. Because I hear your voice in my head. The way you talk, it's unique. I remember, this is the kind of garbage I remember. Why do I remember that? But I do. And it helps with my screenwriting, because I could just pull one of you people out of thin air and put you into a script, at least the way you talk, and then you're in there. And I don't mean just my friends. I mean people I meet just randomly. I edit conversations in my head as we're talking. If it's something like, I don't know when I do this actually. If it's just get distracted or whatever, but as you're talking, I will format it into a script in my head, and then I'll start editing. Oh, I would have said this. Like for real conversations, not screenwriting. I'm talking about real conversations that I've had with real people. I will edit your dialogue as I see in my head. And like, I would have, they really should have said this. It was more clear. You know, I do that all the time. Can I teach that? I don't know. I think I can. I know the way my brain works now, and I know that's not normal. I think I can say, okay, look, here's the stuff I'm really good at. I know the stuff that I'm bad at. I'm bad at describing things because my brain's jumping around so much for story. I've had to really focus more on describing scenes, like what is actually in here for various departments. And I've noticed that in other scripts too that I'm reading for the Atlanta Film Society, Atlanta Film Festival. A lot of people struggle with description of people and places and things. It's just a little too basic, and I'm pretty sure I do that too. Like I'm looking at my stuff, like I think, especially as I'm writing this novel, which is completely in your head, you have to have more description. I'm like, I don't have enough. Some of these scripts I'm complaining about in my notes, I should be complaining about myself. I need to fix this. So I have weaknesses, but I know what my strengths are. Stuff that I can pay attention to. My brain gravitates towards, like looking for story ideas. I am a machine about that. I mean, I can sit down and come up with an outline for something in no time. I'm not saying it's going to be great, but in no time, I've done it. Someone said, how fast can you do it? I was like, oh, give me like an hour. And they're like, oh, I thought you need like a week. I'm like, no, why would I need a week? The reason I don't need a week is because I have ADHD, most likely. It's a lot. It's a lot, y'all. Man, it's a lot. So anyway, I'm just going to stop talking because I could legitimately, the reason I overshare is because of ADHD. It's a little embarrassing. Some of the stuff I can think of that I said in the past that I overshared with, whatever. It's out there. I don't care. The reason I'm so sensitive to any sort of feedback, not even taking notes from scripts, but like feedback from my pitches. Like pitching was a nightmare. It still is. I always say it feels so personal. The reason it feels personal to me is because I most likely have ADHD. I'm going to stop talking. I said it a few times, and I'm starting to stutter because my brain's waking up and I'm starting to have a slightly manic state. So I'm going to stop, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to play you a clip of my brain. This is the way my brain works. You're going to hear a few lines of dialogue going on at the same time, and a couple of songs, and it's going to give you an idea of what I go through 24 hours a day. Okay? If you have something similar to this, please investigate it for yourself. You don't have to take the test, and don't self-diagnose for Christ's sakes, because that's really bad, because you're going to want to take medicines you're not supposed to, but just investigate it. Watch some professional videos. I'm not saying watch some freaking TikTok stuff. Like look for like official medical videos about ADHD on YouTube or whatever, or medical websites, or talk to a doctor. Obviously, this is the best thing. It could be just your primary about it, and then you might want to see a specialist. If your brain sounds anything remotely like this, it's not supposed to be this way. I did not know that until I was 45, and hopefully I'm helping you before you're 45. And if not, if you're my age or older, you know what? Congratulations, because your entire life is about to be in focus, and your brain is about to be on fire with ideas on how to fix it. At least if you're like me. And if you need help with any of this stuff, or if you just want to talk about anything, or you want to meet up in person if you live in Atlanta and you think you have this or whatever, atlfilmchat@gmail.com. atlfilmchat@gmail.com. ATL Film, I didn't mean to sing that one. ATL Film Chat is our socials across the board. Please reach out. I'm not kidding. I'm not joking. People say this all the time. I want to help. No, I legitimately think I can help people. Okay, so if your brain sounds like this at all, or if you have any questions, again, atlfilmchat@gmail.com. Okay, so here is 1 minute of my brain. Enjoy. Okay, so for this exercise, the character of Chuck, aka me, is going to try and sit down and get some writing done. Here we go. All right, we're writing. Yep, we're writing. Writing. Here we go. All right. We didn't do the... All right, sitting down. Here we go. All right. Time to write. Writing time. All right.
Nope.
Where were we? On the oil change. Pulling a word. Oil change, man. Oh, I forgot to do that resume thing. Yeah, hey, we really need to do that.
Too soon.
Nope. We're working on the story. Pay attention. No. Like, we've got the trip coming up. We really need... We're going to story. Sit down. Right.
One of our submarines
is sinking into the crate. Hey, we've got a couple things going on here.
Bye.
One of our submarines. Can you pay attention for just a minute?
No,
Stop. Stop talking to yourself. Is it Thomas Dolby? Oil change.
The world?
Mattress.
One of our
Clothes.
submarines.
The other clothes. They're still in the dryer.
Bye.
Hey, hello. Singing. Did you?
One of our submarines.
Hey, did you think? Hello.
Bye.
Chuck, sit down and write.
Video game.
Running out of the crypt.
Stop.
Running out of the crypt. All right. And right. Okay. So how about that, huh? That's my brain. So hope you enjoyed this episode. I really appreciate listening. If you listened all the way through, I'm either very grateful or I'm sorry or I'm both. But I really appreciate it. It's been a lot. Hopefully this year is going to be much better. I know it's not exactly seeming like it right now. On January 9th, as I'm looking at this, I'd say it couldn't get worse than it already is, but it can, and it actually probably will, unfortunately. But let's hope. All you can do is hope, right? Hope for the best, plan for the worst, which is kind of like this mental health diagnosis. Maybe you go in and you plan for the worst, like, man, maybe I have soup for brains like Chuck does. And then they're like, oh, no, here's this one thing you can fix. And you're like, oh, I hope for the best. I only have one thing to fix instead of the 18 that Chuck does. And that would be great, and I want to hear about it. Please tell me. All right, that's about all I got. My mouth is super dry, and I am going to go. See you next week.
Thanks for listening to Atlanta Film Chat. Subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you find your podcasts. The show is produced by Tranquil Aggression Productions and Zombie Cat Productions. Your host is Chuck Thomas. Editing is by Joshua Goldkey. The soundtrack is by Michael Breezy Keys Jones. I am your humble announcer, Rob Scheimer. Remember, you are your own biggest fan. So go out, make your projects, and don't let anyone stop you.